In the event you're somebody who doesn't want to read this full book, maybe these 5 tips that I have for you today can be helpful and can allow you to set up a 12-week year plan for yourself, even though you maybe haven't read this book. Hey there, let's talk all about the 12-week year, the planning, the process, all of the things. I am going to go through my take on the book. It's called The 12-Week Year. I promise I'm going to give all the credit to this book and to Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington, because the goodness came from these people. So if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, let's get into it. The 12-week year. Get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. The title says it all. I am somebody who, I love being productive. I love organization. I love planning. I love following through with the plan. This book was something that I didn't really understand it when I first saw it, but it was something I quickly fell in love with. So what I'm going to share with you today actually isn't going to be straight from this book. It's going to be my takeaways and kind of how to apply this and my opinion on the steps that you should take and the order in which you should take them in order to see the success that you're after with this book. Why the 12-week year plan? I think that it is a genius idea. I think the idea that you could get so much accomplished in 12 weeks versus waiting all 12 months, it goes into the details in here, but I am somebody my entire life. You give me a deadline and I will be working on whatever project, whatever paper, whatever it was the night before, the day before. I'm not somebody who would study weeks in advance. I'm not somebody who would work on projects weeks in advance. So when it comes to setting goals, I am someone that is guilty of, if I set a goal for a year from now, I don't work on it right away. A little time pass. I wait till we get closer to, month 10, month 11, maybe even, right at the end of month 11 before we're hitting that final month. And then I start really going after it. And so I saw this 12-week year plan as an opportunity to take those bad habits of mine and reformulate them, maybe create some new habits that are going to help me achieve the goals that I have, be productive, which I love, be organized, which I love, have a plan in place, which I love. So it just seemed to make the most sense for me. It was everything I wanted and more, and I think everyone in their life should read this. I want to also put in a quick disclaimer though. This is just one way to approach this. Like, of course, this is not the end all be all. This is, of course, my opinion. I am in love with this. Others may read this and be like, that does not work for me. And if it doesn't work for you, that's perfectly fine. I'm just sharing what I have found that I really, really enjoy, what seems to click and make sense in my brain, and what I am finding to be super beneficial for my mindset, for my productivity, for my organization, so on and so forth. I am sharing with you 5 tips that I have come up with that I think if you follow this, as well as utilizing the 12-week year planning system, you can set yourself up for success. So let's do it. All right, tip number 1. Let's dive into what are going to be your actual goals for these next 12 weeks. So in the book, it recommends about 2 to 4 at the most, not to overload yourself with too many goals, but instead coming up with 2 to 4 goals that are, number 1, actually achievable over the course of 12 weeks. 2, something that you actually genuinely want to achieve, not some fluffy thing that doesn't actually mean anything to you, not some goal that you think you should be working towards, but goals or a goal. If you want to just do one goal, that's perfectly fine. But goals or a goal that truly means something to you, deep down you want to achieve this goal, you're working towards it. Maybe it's been a goal that you've wanted to work towards for months, years, and you've never taken action towards it. And now you're like, you know what? If I can have this clear of a system, maybe now is the time. So think through that, take some time. I ended up doing 3 goals, and they are in different areas. One of my goals is a personal health goal. The other 2 goals are some additional business ventures that I am looking to get into. In fact, they are 2 business ventures that I have been wanting to get into for over 2 years now. Yeah. So I have been someone who has been dragging my feet. I am someone who, I need a deadline. I need a time frame. So tip 1 is going to be all about you figuring out what those specific goals are. If you're like me, maybe you have a couple of goals that you have wanted to achieve for years and you've never actually taken the action towards them. those might be the goals or the goal to do this with. The 12-week year, it's at least worth a shot. I mean, you already haven't done anything towards it anyway, right? So what do you have to lose? So my tip would be come up with, and I wouldn't make them all business. I wouldn't necessarily make them all personal. Maybe try to change them up, but I would recommend having at least 2 that you can work towards. I picked 3, as I mentioned. Honestly, it's because I know that I can handle those 3 goals. One of them, my personal health goal, I'm already working towards that actively, so I know that that's not going to be necessarily a big, crazy thing to add on to my life because I'm already in a really, really good and consistent rhythm of taking care of my health, being in my health journey, and doing that on a very consistent basis. Whereas these other 2 goals, these business ventures, are, as I mentioned, things that I have been wanting to do for over 2 years now and have taken action but very little action on. And so I know with the time that I have available to me, which is another thing to keep in mind, I can put some time and some effort towards these goals. I can absolutely do that, and I'm ready to do that. And what's really neat is I don't know why this necessarily is clicking now, because here's another fun fact. These are the goals that I wrote in this book. I told you that I filled out the blanks last year when I read this, and I filled them out again this year when I read this. But I didn't really have to fill them out again this year because pretty much they're the exact same goals. So if you're sitting there feeling guilty or feeling shameful that you have been working towards goals or saying you've been working towards goals but not actually taking any action towards them, I'm telling you, this is for you. We could do this together. You've really got to figure out what those goals are going to be, but not only what they're going to be, but why. Why are you picking those goals? Why do those goals actually matter to you? Are they going to be the type of goal that's going to get you out of bed in the morning? Because if they're not, if there's some fluffy goal that you're just saying is a goal because you feel like you're supposed to say it's a goal, you're going to hit that snooze button every single time. So really, really, really take some time to think about this. And quite frankly, this is probably the most important step that I have for you, because if you can't think of goals that are actually going to motivate you to get to work and take some action, you're probably not going to need the rest of these because they're not going to help you. Like, the goals are necessary, and that's why this is tip number 1. And another thing, if you've maybe worked towards this goal before, or maybe you've been like me and you've started to work towards this goal but not actually taken any action, I want you to ask yourself, and I did this with myself, what's going to be different this time? Is my mindset different? Is it because I have a plan? Is it because it's beautifully written out in a document such as this? Probably so, to be honest. Now, this time, it is. It's a priority, and I am ready to make strides towards achieving this goal. And what better way than with this 12-week year plan? All right, tip number 2. This is going to be, obviously, tip number 1 has to be accomplished first, but tip number 2 is going to be all about brain dumping. So we are going to brain dump the tasks that it's going to take to achieve the goals that you have now set. Do it in some way where you're physically getting these thoughts out of your brain and you're dumping them onto paper or on your computer or on your phone or wherever that might be. Write out your goal, and underneath that, start to think, what will it take? What little things will I have to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis to actually achieve that goal? Just anything that comes to mind. You may even write down some things that you don't end up putting in the action steps of your 12-week plan, but go ahead and write them anyway. Just get them all out of your brain. The more that you think, the more you write down, the better it's going to be, I promise you. As you get into the planning process of this, it's gonna be super, super helpful. So take some time, you've got your goals set now, go through, write down each of your goals at the top of a piece of paper, and then just start brain dumping everything that you can think of that might be an action step or a task that's gonna help you ultimately achieve that goal. Okay, step 3 is going to be all about visualizing. Now, I want you to visualize, now that you have your goals set, now that you've thought through all the tasks that it's going to take for you to actually achieve that, now we're going to visualize 12 weeks from now. You set these goals, you've started, you've completed 12 weeks, you've gone through, you've thought through every last piece of what it's gonna take, and now you're at the end of those 12 weeks and you've achieved your 1, 2, 3, or 4 goals that you chose to pursue over this 12-week period of time. What's it feel like? What does it look like? Have you created new habits? Have you gotten rid of some bad habits? What's your energy like? What's your mindset like? Think through every bit of that. Think through, you've achieved that goal. What does it feel like? Visualize exactly what it feels like. So in my example, I do have a personal health goal, but for mine, one of my goals is right here on YouTube. I want to be consistent here on YouTube. I want to have a consistent YouTube channel where I get to come on and I get to help people. I get to teach them things. I get to share my love of organization and planning. I get to just share life and be a part of this community here in this space. That's one of my goals. So 12 weeks from now, I will have had, if I do 2 videos a week, around 24 videos. I will have hopefully built more of a community. I will have gotten more confident in my recording skills and my editing skills and learned a few more tricks of editing. And I'm gonna feel so proud because I've wanted to do this for over 2 years and I'm finally doing it. So that's how I'm gonna feel. I'm gonna feel proud of myself. I'm gonna feel excited. I'm sure have a million more ideas of different videos that I could do. I'm gonna hopefully have met more people right here in this YouTube community. I'm going to have shared what I love and found others who love that as well, right? That's me visualizing this. It's me knowing that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of sitting in front of my computer editing, a lot of days sitting here in front of a camera recording. I know those things are gonna be happening. I'm visualizing that. I'm excited for it. I can picture it. So this is you visualizing the results that you're hoping to achieve with these goals that you've now set. Picture what that's gonna be like. Feel it, imagine it. What's your energy like? What's your mindset like? Take some time and really, really think through that. Visualizing can really, really help us when it comes to goal setting, but more importantly, goal achievement, because we know and we can see what it is that we're working towards, and it makes us that much more excited. Okay, let's chat about tip number 4. This is where we're going to take pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and computer, you know what I mean? And we're gonna really start figuring out what it is that we're going to do. We're gonna take that brain dump list that we've created, really gonna start working through the action steps that must be taken in order for us to actually achieve our 12-week year goals. However, my tip for you, we're gonna work backwards. So what I mean by that, we've just spent tip number 3, we took some time and we visualized what's it gonna feel like? What's it gonna be like whenever we achieve these goals? So we're gonna take that feeling, that visualization, go back 1 week. What needs to happen 1 week prior to that? You're gonna have to keep doing all of those things that you've been doing week 1 through 10 likely. You're gonna have to keep doing that in week 11 so that come week 12, you've actually achieved the goal that you set. Because if you think about it, you get to week 12, the end of week 12, and you've achieved your goal. I doubt you're gonna look back at week 11 and think, yeah, I didn't really do anything week 11. So I am someone that I find working backwards when it comes to goal setting, especially in this specific situation with the 12 weeks, is a game changer. It is so, so helpful because it helps you truly think, okay, this is what I want to achieve. What has to happen right before that in order for me to actually achieve that? Okay, but then what has to happen right before that in order for me to actually achieve that? So I want to just make it clear that some people get overwhelmed with this. They get overwhelmed with the idea of 12 weeks because they're like, how could I possibly plan that far ahead in the future? I don't know what's gonna happen a month from now, let alone 3 months from now. But the thought of this is, this isn't written in stone. This doesn't have to happen in this way. It's just a plan, and plans can change. So knowing that going into this is so key, and it's imperative because if you can keep that in mind, you're gonna be able to make this plan and then make adjustments along the way. This is not an all or nothing mindset where we set this plan and if we don't follow it perfectly, we quit. That's not what this is about. I do not want that for you. I want you to take this and just think through. In a perfect scenario, you reach your goal at the end of 12 weeks. What has to happen in week 11 for you to have achieved that in week 12, okay? And then what has to happen in week 10 for you to get to where you are in week 11 so that you can achieve your goal in week 12. Right? And then you keep going backwards until you get to week 1. And then by the time you get to week 1, you're like, wow, like I did it. I have a plan and it's super thorough, super clear. You may think through different parts of the planning and be like, okay, I know this needs to happen in week 1, so I'm gonna go ahead and write this in at week 1, and then go back to like week 9 and start writing things down again. Again, you have your brain dump list. So that brain dump list, you're gonna be pulling things from that because you've already thought of probably all or the majority of the things that you need to do in order to actually achieve these goals. You brain dumped them and they're right there waiting for you. It's just taking it from this piece of paper and putting it into the right spots so that you can start implementing that. Now, what's it gonna take in week 11 to achieve that? What's it gonna take in week 10 to achieve that in week 11? What's it gonna take in week 9 to achieve that in week 10 so that we can achieve that in week 11 so that we can achieve that in week 12? It sounds tedious, and it kind of is. But once you have it down on paper, it feels so good. Like it feels so, so good. And you're gonna feel so proud. I just created that. I feel so good about this. I'm so confident in what is right here before me. Because another thing that I wanna share that sometimes I struggle with, I work for myself, I get to work from home, I don't have a boss that's telling me what to do. Sometimes it can be really easy to sit down here at my desk and be like, okay, so what do I need to do today? And I will sit here, I'll scroll on my phone, check emails, whatever, and before I know it, I've wasted like an hour of time. To 2 hours of time. I wasted a few hours of time, and I look back and I'm like, what did I actually accomplish today? I hate that feeling. I wanna know what I'm doing. I wanna be productive and efficient with my time. And the only way that I can do that is by having some sort of a plan. Even if it's a broad plan, even if it's a plan that is subject to change, just like our 12-week year plan can and is and should be. You're not going into this writing this in stone, and if you don't follow it perfectly, you fail. You're going into this with a basic framework of what needs to happen, and over time, if things change along the way, maybe you achieve the goal quicker than you thought, maybe you get hit with a setback, you go in, you go back to the drawing board, you now know what to do, and you update the things as needed, and you just set new action steps. You do another brain dump. Maybe you need to change the goal altogether. That's perfectly fine. This is fluid. This is not set in stone, but the key is that you're taking the actions, but you can't take the actions until you know what the actions are. Okay, tip number 5, let's dive right into this final tip that I have for you, and that is there are different types of 12-week year plans. I don't know that I necessarily got this from the book, but as I was sitting down thinking through the planning systems, I was working backwards and I was thinking one type of 12-week year plan is going to be a repetitive type of goal. So as you're planning that out, in tip 4, we talked about working backwards. Well, really, unless you hit your goal midway through or before you actually finish the 12 weeks, you're going to probably keep the exact same actions in place the entire time. And going into that, that will be helpful to know because you're not trying to recreate the wheel each week. Instead, you're probably just gonna copy and paste those same tasks week after week after week, and it's just gonna be more of like a checklist. That's exactly what I did for my personal health goal that I have, and that would be my tip for you when it comes to any sort of a health goal, if that's what you're looking to set, would be to have a repetitive goal, AKA doing the same action steps week after week to achieve that. Another goal option that you would have with this would be an incremental goal. So in an incremental goal, each week you're gonna be building on what you did the week before. So I'm gonna use the example of building a house. I've never built a house, so if I get any of this wrong, please don't judge me. But in building a house, it's a very incremental thing. You have to do one thing before you can do another thing. For example, I can't decorate a house that doesn't exist. So obviously the house needs to be built first, but let's break that down even more. I don't think a house can be built in 12 weeks, but in this hypothetical situation, let's just think about it in that way. So in the first week or first couple of weeks, we need to focus on building that foundation. We've got to have that foundation before we can start building, our frame and our structure of what the house is going to be. Well, the frame has to be there before we can start putting in any walls or any electricity or anything like that. Then, once all that's in, then we can start with our walls, we can start painting, and then after all that's done, we can start decorating, we can start moving in, we can start living in the house. But we can't live in the house before we've built it. We can't build it before we have a foundation. We can't even put a foundation until we've bought the land. You know what I mean? So that's more of an incremental goal where you have to do something first before you can achieve the next things that are coming. So in that example, if you had a goal that you set Tip number 4, where I say to work backwards, that might not actually work for an incremental goal. So in that situation, you might actually need to start with week 1 and think, okay, what needs to happen in week 1 so that I can then move on to what needs to happen in week 2. Then you can still start from the end and then work your way back and be like, okay, does this all make sense? Because in order for me to achieve this at week 12, I need to have done this by week 11. And then by week 11, in order to get to that, I need to have done X, Y, Z in week 10. So with an incremental goal, you could probably go either way. And I would actually recommend starting from one direction, going up, and then going back down, or vice versa, working backwards. So either way with that one, incremental goals are very, very important, that you have to do something first before you can do the other things that come after that. I'm sure that makes sense, but I just wanted to explain that in detail, and I like examples. So there you go. Okay, the third type of goals that you might have would be the recurring goal. So what I mean by this is 12 weeks works out to be about 3 months. Depending on when you start your 12 weeks, like I'm starting mine, I started on September 5th. So pretty much that's the beginning of September. So this is going to take me through September, through October, through November. I will finish up right after Thanksgiving this year. So I pretty much am going through 3 full months. So a recurring goal would be a goal where you set a goal for a month. Maybe your job has it where you have quotas that you have to meet in a month's time, or you just set personal goals within your job on a monthly basis. You may have action steps for weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that month. The ultimate goal is to achieve whatever it is by week 4, because you're trying to achieve that goal within a month's time. So then come the next month, you're basically just gonna take weeks 1 through 4 and repeat them for weeks 5 through 8. Does that make sense? And then for the third month of your 12-week year, weeks 9 through 12, you're gonna take, you had week 1 through 4 and then repeat it in week 5 through 8, and you're gonna take that and now repeat it week 9 through 12. So that would be like a recurring set of action steps for your goal. So you might do something in week 1 that then sets you up for success in week 2, and then it gets you closer to achieving your goal in week 3, and then by week 4 you've achieved the goal. But the goal was to achieve that within the month's time. You can absolutely still have a month goal and utilize that and set that as a 12-week year plan. Maybe you're trying to do something, get something consistently. If you're in the world of sales, maybe you do things on a monthly basis. In my business, we have monthly goals. Everything starts over on the 1st. So the goal would be to help 3 to 5 people every single month. Okay, so come September 1st, come October 1st, come November 1st, my goal is the same thing. I want to help 3 to 5 new people. So what I'm doing in week 1 of September is going to look very similar to what I'm doing in week 1 of October, which is going to look very similar to what I'm doing in week 1 of November and December and so on. That form of goal is a recurring goal because you're going to do basically the same set of action steps just in 4-week increments. So we've got incremental, we have repetitive, and we have recurring. So think through the goals that you have set and think through which one of those best aligns with how you're going to be setting the action steps needed to achieve those goals. So I lied. I actually have one bonus tip for you, but I think you're gonna really, really appreciate it. So my bonus tip for you today is find a community, find some accountability, find some support as you are doing this 12-week year plan. Ask somebody to watch this video, send somebody the 12-week year book, but take some time, think through all of the tips that I've just shared with you, come up with your plan, but encourage somebody to do it with you or multiple somebodies. I don't think the group needs to be huge, but if you could have 2 to 5 different people doing this with you and holding each other accountable, it's gonna be so much better. But I'm telling you, the accountability piece is everything. If I don't tell somebody I'm gonna do something, it often doesn't happen. Prime example would be this YouTube channel. I never told anyone for over 2 years that I wanted to do this. Finally, this summer, I told someone, and guess what? Here we are, and I am finally starting and pursuing this goal of having a YouTube channel. It's part of my 12-week year plan now. It is something that I'm actually taking action and doing something with, but it took me finally telling someone that I wanted to do it in order to have the accountability that I needed to actually follow through. So my bonus tip for you is to make sure you find somebody. And if you need somebody, hello, I'm here. I would love to help any way that I can. Comment below, let's chat about it, but I would love to be your accountability partner and help you achieve the goals that you're setting for yourself. All right, and here are my final thoughts that I want to share with you. So the 12-week year plan is just one system out there. This is going to take work. You don't just make this beautiful 12-week plan and then not follow through with the action steps that you've put in place, that you've written down, that you've taken the time to think out, and they just automatically happen. You're gonna have to follow through with those action steps. So utilize that as a checklist if you need to. Think through that. That was why we visualized what it's gonna take to get there and what it's gonna feel like when we do. If you can take the time to do that, you're going to set yourself up for so much more success because you're already gonna know there's gonna be hard times, there's gonna be sacrifices, there's gonna be, early mornings or late nights or extra work or whatever your situation might be based on the goals that you've set. So I want you to go into it knowing it's gonna take some thought process. It might be a little overwhelming at times, but just take a breath. Think through the tips that I've shared with you today and know that you absolutely are capable of doing this, and it could be a whole new life for you in 12 weeks if you take some time and figure this out. And that's it. I have absolutely loved nerding out with you and taking a deep dive into this 12-week year planning system. I am so excited for my own 12-week year and I cannot wait. And I hope that this has been beneficial to you, that this has been helpful for you. I hope the tips that I shared with you helped break this down in a way that was understandable. Even if you do not take action on any of this, I hope that you fully understand every step that you could take if you wanted to pursue this 12-week year planning system. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, if it was helpful for you. That is a great way to communicate with me that this is a video that you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already. I would love that. I have had this goal for over 2 years to do this, not knowing if anyone would care of anything that I had anything to say. So if you are someone who is interested in what I am sharing about and you want to see more, hitting subscribe is a great way to do that. And then if you turn the notification bell on, you can be notified every single time I upload a new video. The goal is to do 2 a week. That is in my 12-week year plan. So if you want to see more, this is the place to do it. Thank you for being here. I hope you fully dive into this 12-week year planning system. Please let me know how it goes for you. Leave it in the comments, and I hope to chat with you so soon. I will be responding to any comments that I see, and if you have questions, of course, please put them there as well. Otherwise, happy planning, happy productive next 12 weeks, and we'll be chatting with you soon. See ya.